Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and fired up you're here with us working towards the weekend. It's a football weekend in South Louisiana. LSU at home against Alabama. The Saints welcoming in the Atlanta Falcons. We're certainly talking about all of that. Have our two guests in the second hour today. Chris Blair will join us at 2:15. And Chris Blair, did I say Chris Blair? I was thinking of Luke Johnson, who's moving back. Luke Johnson at 2:30, Chris Blair at 2:15. I want to talk to you about some of Alabama's playmakers a little bit later on in the show. Does Saints-Falcons really matter? Does this game matter on Sunday to you, the Saints fan? We'll talk about that in 30 minutes. LSU basketball on the men's side got their season off to a great start with a win last night. I'll have some thoughts on that in 15 minutes. So plenty to get to over the next 2 hours. Appreciate you spending it with us. Start the same way every day with our opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So if you've been on Twitter in the last 45 minutes, you've probably seen the report from LouisianaSports.net that made a change on Saturday night in Death Valley. Well, change back, I guess I should say. According to sources that we have here at Guarantee Media and LouisianaSports.net, we have learned that there is plans to have a live tiger inside Tiger Stadium for pregame Saturday night. Now, this is not brand new news to you. Over the course of the last year, Governor Jeff Landry has said publicly that he would like a tiger to take the sidelines, as was tradition for decades at LSU. Mics over the years were put into that mobile cage and taken inside Tiger Stadium. They were taken around the field, pulled in front of the student section, oftentimes coaxed into roaring, parked by the opposing locker room at times as well. It was part of the tradition of LSU football, and that was discontinued about a decade ago. In 2015, LSU decided it wasn't in the best interest of the Tigers to do that anymore. So with the latest Tiger, which is now Mike 7, they have not done that. And Mike 7 is in that 15,000 square foot habitat across the street from Tiger Stadium. And that's where he's going to stay on Saturday. We have learned over at LouisianaSports.net that the plan is for LSU and Governor Jeff Landry to facilitate another Tiger to come in from out of state, be put in the old cage and wheeled around. Here's the thing. I think that there are some people that are really fired up about this. And I'll be candid with you, when I was 10 or 12, that was really cool to see a tiger roar in front of the student section, to hear that over the PA system. I don't really need it. I don't need a live tiger inside Tiger Stadium. I don't need you to put the tiger in the cage. I don't need the cage to get beat on. I don't need there to be a fake tiger that you wave in front of the tiger to coax it into roaring. I don't need that as part of my game day. Y'all heard me go nuts about uniforms, and I still will. That means something to me. Having the tiger paraded around doesn't really mean a lot to me. I'll be just as fired up for LSU Alabama with or without it, and honestly probably won't even see it because I'll be doing the pregame show across the street. I just don't care. That's just not on my radar. I'm also not going to sit here and suggest to you that I have a ton of investment in the mental health of some tiger they bring in. There's a lot of things that I have in my bandwidth. I'm locked in on my job. Certainly my family is number one in my life. We got to make sure that the bills are paid. We got to make sure that we're staying employed here. We got to make sure that my kid is safe and healthy. Same goes for my wife. There's a lot of things I care about, and candidly, I care about the results of the LSU football games and the Cubs baseball games. I care about that stuff too. I'm not going to pretend like I'm sort of mortified that some tiger is going to be put in a cage. If that's the way that you feel, that is perfectly reasonable. If you think who cares what a Tiger is feeling, I'd like him to get going crazy because this is a football game and I'm fired up for it. That's fine too. I don't really know much about the electoral votes in the state of Minnesota either. Like, there are just some things I know and care about, some things I don't. I don't really care about the Tiger. I think that it's interesting that the governor is so invested in this. But again, it's just not something that's going to really swing me one way or another. As I said at the top, like, to me, I wouldn't do it. I'm good with I'm not averse to LSU having a live Tiger on campus. I think Mike's existence in that facility, 15,000 square feet, having people take care of him, incredible veterinary care over there at LSU, keeping him fed and healthy. And, I think it's fine that you've got a Tiger on campus. There are some people that are mortified by that. But I do, in just in my opinion, like, I don't need him to get into a cage and be wheeled around the field. That's just how I feel about the situation. But Jeff Landry said months ago, like, we're going to get this done. And it appears they're going to get it done for Saturday. Once again, it's not going to be Mike, the one that's been here for 7+ years on campus at LSU, but there will be a Tiger, and he will be in that cage, and he'll be on the field pregame for LSU and Alabama. That's kind of my read on the situation. Beck, you've been in Baton Rouge your entire life. I would imagine you have seen the Tiger and are aware of that tradition. Do you have anything to say about the fact that this is likely going to happen again on Saturday?
I guess it's just about a par for the course for Louisiana politics. Like, let's care about getting a live Tiger in the stadium as opposed to, more important matters. But honestly, man, I don't care about it either. Yeah. It was cool to see it, but at the same time,
I thought it was cool when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I don't anymore.
exactly.
I'm 36. I don't need it.
Yeah, I'm okay with us not having a Tiger in there. Like, it's fine. If it's pretty cool with all the other schools that have mascots, like the dog and then Bevo and all that. That's fine. Those are like
Ralphie.
Yeah, that's cool. But like, Tiger's a little bit different, so let's we don't need it, but whatever, man. It's gonna happen. So
it is gonna happen. And I think there'll be a lot of people that'll yell and scream and say, like, I can't believe you're using funds and time to make sure that this happens, as opposed to dealing with education or the budget or whatever. I have no way of knowing how much time or effort Jeff Landry put into getting a Tiger into Louisiana and into a cage and into Tiger Stadium. He may have had somebody way down the line handle that. He may have spent 4 weeks on it. I have no idea. So without that information, I can't know. I have no idea what it costs to, quote unquote, rent a Tiger. I have no idea if the state of Louisiana paid for it or not. I don't know. So I can't necessarily rant and rave and talk about that. I would suggest there are things in the state of Louisiana that do need to be done a little bit better. And I have, again, really limited feelings on whether or not getting a Tiger to come in for Saturday night in Death Valley is detracting from that in any way. It's just, I think it's going to be polarizing. I think it's going to get a lot of eyeballs. I think that it's going to be a national story. And as I sit here today at 1:08 on this Thursday getting ready for LSU Alabama, I'd quite frankly rather talk about how LSU is going to deal with Ryan Williams, whether or not LSU can stop Jam Miller, whether or not Jalen Miller is going to run it 18 times or 4 times, and whether or not Garrett Nussmeier is going to get picked off 3 times or throw for 400 yards and not get picked. Like, I'd rather just talk about the game. But I do understand that this is going to be a polarizing thing because there are going to be some people that are going to be very invested in this. PETA is going to make a huge statement about this. There's no question about that. And the state of Louisiana is probably going to take some heat for some of this. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think there's also a large faction of LSU fans that think this is awesome. So you're going to get both. And I guess the way I've talked around this thing, and it's kind of by design because it's honestly the way I feel, I just don't really care. If you put me in charge, there's not going to be a Tiger in the cage. You put a Tiger in the cage, I'm still going to show up, and I'm still going to be invested in the game. I'm going to handle the pregame show. I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to go do the postgame show and write a column for LouisianaSports.net, and I'm probably not going to spend much time thinking about how the Tiger felt when it was in the cage and the student section was yelling and screaming. It's just, that's the way that I feel. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat right now, I'd like to hear kind of your thoughts on it. Hit me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. I might put a poll out on my Twitter just to kind of check the read of how people feel about it, because I think it's going to be polarizing. I'll probably put in the poll, like, don't really care. And I bet that doesn't get a lot of votes. I feel like most people are going to say, yeah, that's awesome, bring the tradition back, or this is disgusting, like no chance they should be doing this. I think those two are going to get far more than, yeah, whatever. And I'm in the yeah, whatever camp, but that doesn't make for exceptionally good talk radio. So I guess we'll leave it right there at that. And then we'll come back and talk about a little bit of LSU basketball. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Does Saints-Falcons really matter? That's in 20 minutes. When we come back, LSU basketball scored a big win last night. I was in the PMAC. I'll give you some of my thoughts on that when we come back on a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're loving your interest rate, but not loving everything about the house that you live in, not in a hurry to move, like the rate, but not thrilled about the way things look at times, how about a renovation? Bathroom and closet can transform your bedroom area, give you all kind of new room, space in that closet. Gorgeous new shower, bathtubs in the bathroom. David Duvall and his team can handle it start to finish. You don't have to call 4 contractors to get the job done. You just call one. David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. If you think, I don't know about paying for that right now, well, financing options are available for 18 months, 0% if you qualify. Start that process with a free consultation at onebathandclosets.com. You can see pictures of their great work. You can see the satisfied reviews, and you can start that process at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Great way to start off the season. As I look at the game, I really liked our defensive intensity, ability to be disruptive there. I thought we did a terrific job defending the three-point line. They had 6 assists, only 14 turnovers. And I thought that was really good for us on that side of the ball. I thought we were able to wear them down some with our pressure. We were really concerned with the defensive glass coming in. Monroe returned a lot from last season and was a top 35 offensive rebounding team in the country. And we got 78% of the misses tonight, which is a good number that'll win for us. And then offensively, I thought when the ball moved, I thought we were really effective. I thought Derek Fountain gave us huge energy when he came into the game and was able to change the pace of the game. But really enjoyed watching us play offensively. A few careless turnovers, and I think we're a much better shooting team than we showed.
That's LSU head basketball coach Matt McMahon after last night's season-opening 95-60 win over ULM inside the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. I thought it checked a lot of boxes for LSU as well. He wanted to get a lot of guys in the game early. He did. He got they had basically 11 available players. Tyrell Ward has moved on from the basketball program for the time being. I'll talk about that in a second. And then I didn't know if Derek Fountain was available or not. He didn't play early in the game, but it turned out he was available late in the game and gave him some good minutes. But other than that, they got 9 of the 10 available guys in the game in the first 6 minutes of action. You had a ton of guys play double-digit minutes. Jordan Sears, Jai Bailey, Cam Carter, Rob Miller, Jalen Reed, Victorious Miller, Mike Williams, Curtis Givens, Damian Collins, and Derek Fountain all played double-digit minutes. Only Corey Chest of the scholarship guys did not. He played 3 minutes, had a turnover, and I think Matt McMahon wanted to get him out and maybe give a little teaching moment there. But you got a lot of guys in the game, which was important. You were able to put ULM away early. You never let them within 20 in the second half, which I think was good, that you could kind of do whatever you wanted to do because you didn't have to worry about the score of the game in terms of rotations, guys you wanted to feature offensively, adjustments you wanted to make defensively. And then I thought that LSU, I thought the players that very likely will assume a role on this team played that likely role last night. For example, Jai Bailey is not here to knock down a bunch of shots and make high-flying plays. Jai Bailey is on the roster because he defends really well. He's a willing rebounder as a guard. He does not turn the ball over very much, and he doesn't take a lot of shots, but he makes the ones that he takes. He led the A-10 in field goal percentage last year as a guard because he really only takes easy twos, layups, dunks, floaters around the rim. That's really all he shoots. So you think about that role for Jai Bailey, and you think about what he did last night. Well, he was 6 of 7 from the floor. He only shot 1 3, missed the one he missed. So he's 6 of 6 from 2-point range. He had 6 rebounds as a guard. He was 2-to-1 assist to turnover, and he had a steal and played some good defense. Like, he did exactly what you imagine Jai Bailey is going to do. He was given the grit belt last night from Matt McMahon for doing kind of the dirty work. I think Jalen Reed and Cam Carter are going to be the guys that LSU asks to score more than the other players on the team. Jordan Sears is in that conversation, but right now I think Carter at the 2 and Reed at the 5 are going to be LSU's go-to scorers, and those two guys led the way with 24 and 21 points. They combined for 45 points, and they shot it at a really high percentage. They were 15 of 21 from the floor. Jalen Reed made all 8 of his free throws, which really impressed me. He was 8 of 9 from the floor, and the one miss was a little bunny that he missed from right next to the rim. So he was really, really efficient. ULM never sent a double team at him, and he just went to work and scored a bunch around the rim. And then Cam Carter was great as far as scoring efficiently from the perimeter. He was 4 of 8 on his 3-point shots. He made all 3 of his free throws, and he scored 21 points. I thought was very, very good. I'd like to see the 4 turnovers cleaned up, but those two guys are your scorers. They scored. You're going to see Curtis Givens and Jordan Sears do the majority of the ball handling for this team. Jordan Sears is the starting point guard. He goes out immediately in the first half with 2 fouls. He's got to watch the chicken wing with his offhand pushing off on defenders. He got called in transition for one of those, and then there was another one that Keith Richard was really begging for, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they called it. So Sears got to watch that, but he got 2 quick fouls. So Givens played a ton in the first half. He did have a couple of kind of careless turnovers like freshmen do. Tried to hit a pocket pass on a pick and roll to a guy that wasn't there, got his pocket picked a different time trying to dribble the basketball. But Givens was pretty good. He scored 15 points in the game. He did grab 6 rebounds, which you really like, and he dished out a couple of assists. So he's the backup point guard right now. Sears needs to be the man at point guard, but I thought he gave you some quality minutes as well. Rob Miller, I thought, was disruptive defensively. He got out there and created an early steal that Jai Bailey turned into a tomahawk slam. He showed that length and athleticism, and I like the fact that Rob Miller had 3 assists in the game. It's not something I expected to see, but he did do that. So I thought that was really good as well. They've got talent, and they're learning to play together, but they're defining roles pretty quickly here, and I like a lot of that. Some of the statistics that I used in my post-game story for LSU, for LouisianaSports.net, ULM was only 3 of 14 from 3. They made 2 early ones and then hit a circus shot right before the half, but LSU did a great job of running them off the 3-point line for the most part and limiting their ability to score from 3. I thought it was fantastic that LSU rebounded 82% of the misses from ULM. They got 31 defensive rebounds on 38 missed field goals by ULM. That's going to play all day long. I love the fact that LSU was 20 of 24 at the rim. The team 2 years ago, I realized, was a bad team, Matt McMahon's first team, but they struggled so mightily at the rim. Those shots get more difficult in SEC play than they do against ULM, but they did a good job, 20 of 24 at the rim, and an even better job at the free throw line where they were 17 of 19 from the charity arc. That's great. And so for LSU to score 95 points in a game where they really didn't shoot the 3 well at all, they shot south of 30% from the 3-point line, still scored 95 points. I thought that was a very, very good thing. So look, ULM's not great. It's a Sun Belt team. You should run them off the floor. LSU did run them off the floor, but there was some good to look at. You'll see some more on Sunday against Alabama State for a 4 o'clock tip-off. And then you will get your real first dose of medicine with Kansas State next Thursday in Manhattan. Speaking of that game on Sunday against Alabama State, I was in the post-game press conference last night with Matt McMahon, and before he got up, he wanted to be sure that he talked about Sunday's game and just how important it is. He also dished out a special that LSU basketball is running. So I think we have this sound from Matt McMahon. This is what he left his press conference saying yesterday.
Got a big-time recruiting weekend going on, so want to invite everyone to come out Sunday at 4 as we look to go 1-0 against Alabama State.
It's interesting because when you say big time recruiting weekend, you think, oh, they must have like 4 or 5 like top 50 guys, top 100 guys that they're bringing in, like a big recruiting weekend. No, just one visitor, one guy, Chris Sinak. If you don't know who that is, he's a 5-star New Orleans native. He's gone to boarding school for his final year for basketball development, so doesn't live in New Orleans currently, but he's a New Orleans native, played at Newman for a couple of years. He's one of the top 15 players in the country. He's a 5-star recruit, and Matt McMahon made sure he did not get up from that podium without saying, hey, Tiger fans, we'd really like to have you on Sunday at 4 o'clock. And I'll tell you, if you're an LSU basketball fan, but you're kind of an LSU basketball fan when they're good, and you'd really like it if the program, did a little bit more and were more interesting, not quite competing for championships at the level that football is, that baseball is, that women's basketball is, and you'd like them to step it up. You may be able to make a difference on Sunday. Chris Sinak's going to be on campus all weekend long. He'll be inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday when that place is on fire, and he'll love that. But Chris Sinak is an NBA player. And all year last year when we were watching LSU play, I was looking at them going, they're doing the best they can, and they got to 500 in league play, and that's a solid step in the right direction, but you're not going to go anywhere substantial, compete for the SC championship, make a run to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, to the third weekend of the NCAA tournament. You can't do that without pros. And Auburn's running pros through there. Alabama's running pros through there. Arkansas is running pros through there. You've got to get pros. And I don't know if they have them on this current team, but Sinak's going to be a pro. And if you're wanting more from LSU basketball and you're a fan, go to the game on Saturday. Help create a better atmosphere. If you can get a couple thousand extra people in those seats, it can only help LSU trying to land Chris Sinak. They're competing with some other SEC teams, and it's probably going to go down to the wire, but you're getting close to decision time for Sinak, and Sunday may go a long way towards getting him onto campus. So if you're an LSU basketball fan and you're asking, what can I do? Maybe showing up on Sunday for a game you probably wouldn't have gone to otherwise. It's going to be a long day Saturday, long night Saturday with LSU and Alabama. Maybe nursing a bit of a hangover, maybe trying to get to church early, maybe you're just trying to watch the Saints, you're trying to do something different on Sunday. Might want to get to the PMAC. Matt McMahon knows how important this recruiting weekend is, and he wants as many Tiger fans in there as possible. LSU is running a special. If you've got a football ticket from Saturday night, you get into the basketball game Sunday for free. Bring your ticket stub from football, Sunday basketball, in for free. They're just trying to get as many people in there as they possibly can. We'll see how that works out for the basketball program. As I mentioned earlier, I want to get to this before we close out this basketball segment. LSU announced yesterday that Tyrell Ward is stepping away from the basketball program. Matt McMahon said he's doing so to focus on his mental health, and they do not expect him to return to competition this year. Tyrell Ward was really high-level recruit that Matt McMahon pulled in with Jalen Reed in that first class. He has been the best three-point shooter on LSU's team for the last 2 seasons. He shot at better than a 41% clip last year from three-point range, which is exceptional. He's got great length at 6'6". He's a great shooter. So, yes, you absolutely would rather go into this season with Tyrell Ward on the roster. All of that said, as I look at LSU's roster composition, I wonder how many minutes would be available for Tyrell Ward. Not to say that he wouldn't get on the floor. He would, definitely. I don't think he would start. I don't think he would play 25 minutes a game. LSU brought in transfers with a purpose this year, and they want Jai Bailey and Cam Carter on the wings playing defense. And while Tyrell Ward is an ace shooter, an awesome shooter, he is a subpar defender. He's a one-dimensional offensive player. It's just catch and shoot. And he's not really a threat to facilitate. He's kind of a one-lane guy. And Jai Bailey's the opposite of that. As I talked about with this show, with the opening of the show, like, he's going to get you steals. He's going to get you some 2-pointers. He's going to make the right play. He's going to have a couple of assists. He's going to defend like crazy. And a lot of that is not something that Tyrell Ward gives you a ton of. So it stands to reason in this era, when there are other places available to you that you may take on a larger role, you might look in that direction. I don't have any inside sources on this. I'm just going off of what I've heard and watched. And it just feels like Tyrell was probably the fourth guard on this team and may not have been comfortable with that. So LSU will have to move on without him. I still think they're going to shoot it fine. Cam Coleman shot it great in the exhibition and last night. Curtis Givens showed he can knock down some shots. Jordan Sears is a proven three-point shooter in college basketball. Mike Williams can fill it up. Jalen Reed shot 41% from three in SEC play last year. So you've got guys that can shoot. You've got some guys that may be a little bit more versatile. You never want to tell a 40+% three-point shooter with a 6'7" wingspan, hey, see you later. And I'm certain that LSU didn't do that. But I don't think this is some sort of crippling blow to the 2024-2025 LSU basketball team. I think they're going to be okay with or without Tyrell Ward. I'd rather play it with him, but you've got a lot of options at guard. They brought in the transfers. They've brought in a couple of young freshmen in Gibbons and Victorious Miller they really like as well. So disappointing to hear Tyrell Ward moving on, but not something I don't think that LSU can't move forward without. So that's my look at LSU basketball last night. Saints and Falcons coming up on Sunday. This is obviously the biggest rivalry that the Saints have, but Saints are without a head coach. The Saints are in a rebuild. The Saints traded their best player away. Does this game still matter? Talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBear's Baton Rouge, make it your game day headquarters. LeBear's Baton Rouge, an awesome place to watch games. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can eat and dine at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's Baton Rouge. If you're not headed to Tiger Stadium, not headed to the Superdome for the weekend, well, no big deal. You can go watch the game at LeBear's ESPN Bet. You can play some blackjack. You can watch the game from their comfortable seats. You can grab a table with friends. You can wager at ESPN Bet as well. It's all available to you right there at LeBear's Baton Rouge. I'll be there next Thursday for Thursday Night Football. You can be there tonight for Thursday Night Football for Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Bengals, and Ravens. Should be a heck of a game. Should be a heck of a time. It's always a great time at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's Baton Rouge. Make it your game day headquarters. ESPN Bet inside LeBear's Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Always a great time to get by Rouse's. Do your game day shopping. All your tailgate supplies you can get at Rouse's. If you're heading into campus, thinking, where's a great place to stop and get ice where I know they'll have ice? Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. It's where Matt Musso and Charles Hannegriff will have you going on 8.1 game day for pregame this Saturday starting at 1:30. So stop on by, say hey to them. Grab everything you need on your way out to campus. All your beer, all your wine, all your spirits. They got you. All your sandwich trays, meat pie trays, ice, they got you covered there as well. They even got a bunch of chairs and whatnot if you need extra seating at the tailgate. If you're not going out to Tiger Stadium, not going out to tailgate, you can still get your groceries at Rouse's for the weekend. Should be a good one down here in South Louisiana. Got a lot of interesting football action. I want to talk about Alabama's weapons in this game offensively. I'll do that in 25 minutes because I watched the first half of the Georgia game again this morning. And that was pretty scary. It was pretty scary. Now, I also watched the Vanderbilt game, and I also watched a lot of the Tennessee highlights, and it equalized me. I still think Bama's got a really good team, but they were humming in the first quarter and first half of that Georgia game. So I'll talk to you about a lot of their weapons coming up in 25 minutes at the top of hour number 2. But I want to start right here with the Saints and Falcons. I was listening this morning to Jake and T-Bob on the morning show, and T-Bob's got black and gold running through his veins. Dad's the godfather of Who Dat Nation, Cajun Cannon, and T-Bob's got that running through his veins. And his assertion was, look, this season is lost. You've lost 7 in a row. You've fired your coach. You've traded your best player away. You're still banged up. You're not going to get anything out of this year. But you got to take that interim coach bump and go beat the freaking Falcons. That was basically what he was thinking. And I want to be clear. The point of this segment is not to suggest how the Saints locker room and roster is going to compete on Sunday. Those dudes are looking for their next contract, whether that's in New Orleans or elsewhere, and they're fighting and scrapping and clawing for everything they can get. So I think you're going to get a huge effort out of, well, how should I define that? I think the Saints are going to play really hard on Sunday. You're going to get some tenacity from that group on Sunday. I'm more talking about the fan base. How do you feel about this situation? Because let's be quite honest. Saints fans have not been in this spot in a long, long time. It has been 2 decades since you were at the end of a coaching era and you knew it, and the roster was in this kind of shape, and the season had gone this far off the rails. This has not happened since Hurricane Katrina in that 2005 season. That fell apart, obviously, and you had to figure all that out. But once Sean Payton took the reins, you were pretty good every year, or great, and then you didn't know he was leaving until he announced, hey, we're leaving. And so you haven't been in this situation where you know this team's not going to compete, and there's turnover and transition coming, and there's still football to be played. So it's a new spot for Saints fans relative to the last 20 years. So how does Saints fans feel about this game? My gut tells me most of them feel like T-Bob. Screw the Falcons. They're 6-3. They're thinking they're going to win the division. Let's take it to them and knock them down a peg. Make sure that they don't gain more confidence and become a threat to do anything in the NFL this year. That's how I think fans will approach it. And therefore, I think the Dome will be okay on Sunday. I don't think it'll be full, and I don't think it'll be at full throat, but I think it'll be okay. I think Saints fans want to beat the Falcons. But as I sit back and look at it, if I'm a Saints fan, which I'm not living, eating, breathing like y'all are, I'm okay with losing any of the rest of them, because I want to be in position to draft a quarterback. I want to be in position to draft a game changer at the top of the draft. I want to be picking in the top 3 or 4. I know this quarterback class doesn't look great, and some sort of tank job for Cam Ward or Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers doesn't sound super appetizing the way that those guys have played, or the way that those guys look as prospects. There's not a Joe Burrow staring you right in the face. There's not an Andrew Luck staring you right down the face. There's not a Caleb Williams staring you right down the face. So I get it. And maybe the Saints don't draft a quarterback first. But we understand that the only way the Saints have out of this is to draft. And the only way to draft is to get good picks. You can't bank on hitting on a bunch of 30th overall and 6 rounders. Put me up at the front. And you're right. If you're questioning whether or not this Saints brass, this Saints administration, this Saints executive team, this Saints front office, you're right if you say, well, look at their draft history. It's not even any good. What do I care? But it's the only way. It's the only way to make this work. So I'm certainly not telling you, as I've said many times, I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm never going to tell a fan how to feel. That's not changeable. You feel how you feel. My job is often to offer a perspective and see if I can't give you some more information or something that's a little bit more objective. And to me, 4-14 is not the end of the world. You just don't want to go 8-9. 4 and I can't. That just doesn't work. It's 4-13.
Yeah,
you had them forever.
Yeah.
I knew 13-3. I knew 4 and you had the 16 forever. Bump it up to 17, and I just become a disaster.
The math is just
I just become a disaster. But like that's you don't want to go 500. If the bottom's going to fall out and you're going to trade Marshawn Lattimore and you're going to fire the coach and most of the staff's not going to be back, like, okay, this is what we're doing. So maybe some advice on how I read it as a Saints fan. If you show up on Sunday with hate in your heart for the Atlanta Falcons, that's respectable. And if the Saints get into a dogfight early in the fourth quarter and you're into it, that's respectable. Fine. If the Saints beat the Falcons, good. You beat the Falcons. That's always a good thing, right? And if you lose, not the end of the world. Kind of a good thing. Maybe just try to take the positives on either side. Is that am I speaking your language back, or is that ridiculous?
Well, it's not totally ridiculous, but there is a very large majority of the Saints fan base who they just want to beat the Falcons. They don't care what the outcome is. Like, the Saints haven't gotten swept by the Falcons since 2016. The last time was 2016. It's been a long time since they lost both of the Falcons. And if you want any evidence of whether or not the fans or the team are going to care about it, even when it doesn't matter, just look at the last game last year. They blew the doors off of it and scored that last touchdown, which might have been the death knell for Dennis Allen when he apologized.
Which is still crazy to me.
Yes, it is crazy. But that's just, if you just want any evidence of how much they care, no matter what the circumstance is. So yeah, man, if the Saints win this game, it's going to do a lot for the fans. And if they lose, a lot of fans are going to be, because like I know I have friends that are Saints fans and they hate nothing more than the Falcons.
Yeah,
so
look, it's interesting because I get that. I just can't quite put myself in those shoes because the Cubs losing 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals, like that doesn't really help my draft status.
No.
Like you're drafting a guy that's not going to be in the big leagues for 2 years anyway at best. So it's like I don't necessarily have that. And look, for LSU, it never helps to lose. So I don't. It's not exactly 1-to-1 with how I feel. But I get it. I understood completely T-Bob's stance this morning, like, screw these guys, let's pee in their Cheerios. I get that completely. And if you're a Saints fan that says, I hope they lose the rest of them and get rid of Mickey Loomis, like, I don't think you're crazy either. I think there's very little wrong way to feel here about this. But it's just a spot, like I said at the top, like, the Saints haven't been in this spot in 2 decades. And so it'll be curious to see what that looks like. I want to talk to Luke Johnson in hour number 2 about the vibes that he's seen from the team this week. Again, I expect the Saints to play incredibly hard in this game. But they lose the game, not the end of the world. You're trying to get a good draft pick here. And that's where it's got to start. Got to start in the draft. So we'll break down the Falcons a little bit more as we continue today and into tomorrow and how I think this game goes. Falcons are a 4-point favorite in the Dome. So Saints 2-7 on the season, 1-3 inside said Superdome. Come back and we'll do best win, worst loss, NFL and college football. Close up hour number 1. You're listening to a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Look, whole home audio, TV installation, video surveillance, they can do it all for you. They can also do quote unquote super fancy stuff. I tell you all the time about some of the stuff that they've got at my house, and I would not call that super fancy. We've got some great speakers that are wired into the kitchen and out back that are awesome. Our security system has been great as well, but they can go a lot further than all that. They can do voice automation. They can have you walk into your living room and say, hey, watch a movie, and the blinds will come down and the TV will come on and the lights will dim, and you can do all sorts of things from a voice automation perspective. We didn't do that in the Palmer house. Doesn't mean you can't. And if you have no idea what the capabilities are from that perspective, just start the process with Mitchell Fisher. This is his cell phone. He's the owner of the company. Here's how you get in touch with him. You call 225-439-7920. That's 225-439-7920. Give him a call and say, hey, Mitchell, I'm interested in the voice automation and getting my home entertainment system set up. He'll come over. You'll have a consultation with him. You're off and running. We've done it. We love the consultation. We love the installation. And the customer service has been fantastic as well. Check them out online at avssla.com. Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are bringing you the ultimate holiday gift with our Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We're here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at 1045ESPN.com and you could be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th.
All right, some breaking news earlier today from Gainesville, Florida. Scott Strickland and the Florida Athletic Department put out a statement confirming that Billy Napier will be back as the head coach of Florida next year. Which is odd. You don't get that a lot in early November. That's more of an after the season type thing, usually. But we all know that Billy Napier has been embattled since he showed up in Gainesville, Florida. They got a huge win in his opener against Utah in the Swamp. And you're thinking, okay, that's pretty impressive. He's got to get some recruits in there because that wasn't necessarily awesome under Dan Mullen, and all those guys have kind of moved on. But Napier will get this thing rolling once he gets his guys in there. And quite frankly, he has not. He went 6-7 his first year. He went 5-7 last year. And I think most people would suggest he's going to go under 500 this year. Still got a trip to play Texas. They still play Ole Miss. They still play LSU. And they still have a game with Florida State. They're 4-4. His record over 3 seasons in Gainesville is 15-18. He is 8-13 in league play. It would not surprise anyone if Billy Napier finishes year 3 in Florida at 8-16 in league play. That takes a loss at Texas. It takes a loss against Ole Miss at home and a loss against LSU at home. He may win 2 of them, for all I know. DJ Lagway is now questionable for the game on Saturday, and maybe they win the game. But I don't think Florida's all that great. They've played better lately. But you're talking about a team that, a program that is one of the most prideful in America, that has multiple national championships in this century, and that has fallen on really, really hard times. And it's likely to be 3 straight losing seasons for Billy Napier. But Florida feels the need to extend him. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know if it's because the buyout, which is high 8 figures. I don't know if it's because they really do trust that he's doing things the right way. I don't know if it's because they think that he hasn't been given all the resources early in his time to get things done, and they're just now getting to that. I don't know if it's because they want to keep DJ Lagway around. I don't know if it's because they want to keep this recruiting class signing around.
Yeah.
Are we really keeping a coach around for DJ Lagway? It's not like he's putting up Johnny Manziel and, Jameis Winston freshman numbers. He's been okay. He's certainly not a guy right now that I'm going to bet my entire program on. So it's just a very interesting timing for this with Scott Strickland and Billy Napier. And I don't know if I do know this. Florida fans are not super happy about it. I've seen a lot of that on social media and on message boards that have been screenshotted and put up. But it's going to be interesting. What do you think this means for the crowd in the Swamp next weekend when LSU goes to Florida?
I don't know that it's going to matter that much. I know that. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people.
Do you think it'll be good?
No, I think it'll be pretty good. I do. It's a rivalry game. LSU Florida is a big game for both teams. So I would expect it to be a pretty good crowd.
What if they lose by 40 tomorrow or Saturday against Texas?
That will definitely dampen the spirits, I think, a little bit. But we'll see.
We will see. All right, best win, worst loss on the board. We'll start in college football. I think the best win on the board in college football is Ole Miss. You're talking about a program that had massive expectations, fall flat on your face against Kentucky, can't finish the game against LSU, and you feel like you're probably out of it. But since then, they've come back to work, and they've played pretty well. They go drub Arkansas last week, and now you've got Georgia coming to you. And if you can win this game, I think Ole Miss will go to Florida and win. I think they'll beat Mississippi State. I think that Ole Miss, if they win this game, is going to be in the playoff at 10-2. That's just my feeling. That's why I think it's the biggest win. You could probably put them in worst loss because that means they're out, and now they're going to have to restock all the shelves once again. But I think it's best win on the board, Ole Miss over Georgia. Worst loss, I haven't done this before in this segment, but I'm going to do it now. Just the loser of LSU-Bama. Just probably not the worst loss. That's probably something like Penn State losing to Washington at home. Is in kind of choking, but I think these two teams feel like they should be playoff teams, felt like in August they should be playoff teams, and the loser's not. And that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow, either if it's LSU in year 3 under Brian Kelly, that you're not going to make a 12-team playoff, or Kalen DeBoer in year 1 in Tuscaloosa, losing his 3rd game in early November. That just doesn't happen there very often. So to me, that's the worst loss in college football. Best win in the NFL bet, get ready for it, baby.
I think I know what it's going to be.
Cincinnati Bengals at the
There it
Ravens.
is.
Huge win tonight if they can score it. The Ravens, while I think we all believe they're really good, the old Bill Parcells saying, like, you are what your record says you are. And if the Bengals can find a way to beat the Ravens tonight, the record will say the Ravens are 6-4 and the Bengals are 5-5, and the tiebreaker is split currently.
Yep.
Which is not that big a hole for the Bengals to clear out of. And we thought that the Browns would be good this year. Great defense, Deshaun Watson coming back, shaking off the rust. Well, they stink. And I don't think anybody truly trusts the Steelers. So you pretty much, you almost draw even if you can win tonight. Now, if you lose tonight and the Bengals go to 4-6 and the Ravens go to 7-3 and they have the tiebreaker, we'll turn out the lights on the division at that point. But best win if the Bengals can go and do it. And then worst loss on the board in the NFL. Another team that had expectations and has fallen short of those to this point is the Chicago Bears. They are 4-4. They have not lost at home yet. They've got a home game, and the lowly old Patriots are coming in. Cannot lose to the lowly old Patriots because coming up for the Bears, Packers, Lions, Packers, Vikings, at the Lions, at the Niners, at the Vikings, Lions. Then you got Seahawks and Packers on the road to finish. Like, that is murderous for the Bears. They have got to win this game against the Patriots. So that would be the worst loss on the board. Best win in college football, Ole Miss over Georgia. Worst loss, the loser of LSU and Bama. Best win in the NFL, the Bengals at the Ravens tonight. Worst loss, Bears at home against the Patriots. That's it for hour number one, presented by Rouse's on Thursdays. When we come back in hour number two, I'll talk about Alabama's playmakers. Still got to chat with our guy Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers as well. Don't go anywhere. Sports Center, then back with more Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge, you should think luxury. When you think luxury, don't just say, oh, I can't afford that. Luxury at a reasonable price. There are a lot of options in the luxury vehicle market. And you know the usual suspects. Add Genesis to your list. The line of vehicles is so sleek, so stylish, so comfortable. They drive wonderfully. They are so safe. And the experience of being a Genesis driver is truly special. How about 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty? How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? Valet complimentary maintenance. That's what they'll do for you at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at Pico, right across from Women's Hospital. Get on by the dealership or check out their line of vehicles online. You can do that at genesisofbatonrouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.